All right. Hello, everybody. I am here with Miss Flavia. How do you pronounce your last name? Oleniewski?
Eski, Oleniewski.
Oleniewski. Okay. With Flavia Oleniewski, who is from where do you live at? DC
I'm
area,
in Maryland.
Maryland. Okay, cool. So she's our guest designer this month. She's given us some really cool recipes, a double scoop ice cream, which is really nice. And popcorn box, some other ones. You just have to go to the website to check them out. But she's an amazing woman. I'm happy that she's a guest designer, and I'm happy that we get to spend an hour getting to know her. I promised her I wouldn't ask her deepest, darkest secret, so we're not going to go there, but we'll go everywhere else. So, Miss Flavia, I like to start with like family life. Like, are you married? Do you have children's?
Yes, I'm married. I have two young kids, a boy and a girl. I have a dog and a fish and seven chickens.
Oh, chickens. Okay. How long have you had the chickens for?
A little over a year.
Okay. And what inspired you to get chickens?
Um, I bought a new house with a nice big yard, and I wanted to live more of a sustainable lifestyle. And
Okay.
I started a garden and
Oh, right on.
taking care of poultry, and I'd love to have a more yard, like more of a farm, and have
Addicted to
more
that
animals, but
idea now of having your
someday.
okay. All right, cool. So you eat a lot of eggs coming straight from your chickens and all?
Yes.
Are any of those chickens going to become food down the road, or are they always just egg
No,
produced?
those are all pets for sure.
All right. Think that would be a little weird. Hey kids, tonight we're gonna eat, whatever. Have you named them? Do you have names for your chickens?
Yes, they all have names.
Yep. Okay, that would be super weird. Right. So you work out of your home? Do you work out of a shop? What is your work situation
We
like?
have a 2,000 square foot, was more like a storefront, but we use it as a warehouse.
Okay. And did you start with that? When did
I actually started out of my townhome. I had a very small townhome when I first started this business. And very quickly I realized that I couldn't do that. So within 6 months, we had moved into a small workspace that was about 900 square feet. And when I first moved in there, I thought that place was huge and that there was no need for so much space, but very quickly I grew out of that. And the first day that we moved into our new space, that's a 2,000 square foot space, we realized that that's not big enough either. So I don't know what the future brings, but it I don't foresee us being there for the next, few years.
Yeah. I think Tommy and Scott told me when I first moved out of my house, they're like, wherever you go, you will fill the space. It doesn't matter how big you make it, it's going to get filled.
Yep.
So, how long have you been in business for?
I started my business at the tail end of 2018. Um, and so 2019 was our first full year.
All right, cool, cool. And how long was it before you moved out of your house? Or your
About 6 months,
okay, right on.
maybe
That's
a
probably a little faster
little bit
than
longer.
people, I think. Yeah. And you said right now you're rocking 2,000 square foot
Yeah.
place. And then one of the things that I know about you is you have a fleet. Like one of the things that you offered to the Balloon Guild was an SOP on driver vehicle policy contract thing that's like it's a 9 page, 10 page document or something. Which is in our SOPs. But so that's a when did you come up with that thing? Was it as soon as you got your first vehicle or
So it was after I had three vehicles. Right now I do have three vehicles. I have two big ones, two big ProMasters and a smaller ProMaster, like ProMaster City. What prompted that document was the fact that I started noticing that some of the deliveries were taking a little long. Um, and like
You don't need to clean it out.
I'm sorry, what?
Glasses, nothing.
okay, somebody I don't know. I don't know where that's coming from. Everybody's muted, so
So one of our delivery drivers I noticed that he was taking a little bit long to go do a delivery, something that should have taken about an hour there and back would take close to 3 hours. And we're like, well, what's happening? So I put in a GPS tracker on the car, and I noticed that he was driving to places that were not on his route. So it's not legal to track someone without them knowing. So that's where that document came in place.
Okay.
And it was more of something that I put together for them to be aware that they were being GPS tracked, and then also what the rules were, because you can't hold somebody to not doing things right if they were never specifically told what the rules are. So that's where that document came in place.
Okay. So that brings me to the next question. How long was it before you started working with other people?
Uh, Pretty quickly, right in the beginning, I realized that I needed help. So then that's when I started getting friends and even people off of Facebook. Honestly, my very big first job, I didn't have any help, and I went onto Facebook and I'm like, does anybody have any balloon experience that can come and help me with this job? And we just winged it, to be honest. And then I built my team from there after that event.
Yeah, right on. How many
Yeah.
people do you have working with you?
Right now I have 10,
All right.
including myself, and then my husband jumps in as needed.
Right. I've seen a lot of memes about husbands who are like, my something to the effect of, my wife's business I thought was whatever, and now I have a full-time side job or something where I
Oh,
work for
that's his
free.
full-time job. He lost his job back in 2021, and it didn't make any sense for him to get another job because the kids were home, and they hadn't gone back to school yet after COVID. So they were home, and we just needed more support at home. And I was making enough for all of us. So and he just never went back. He's actually at an install right now. He did, 2 arches by himself. So he's perfectly capable. So he does go off on installs, and he's in charge of keeping care of the vehicles, which has been turning out to be quite a extensive job. He changes the oils, he makes sure that any kind of issues, lights that need to be replaced, sensors that are misfiring, anything that happens with the vans, he takes care of. So,
No.
and then as of late, he's been making marquee letters, and he's been making, metal frames. So he's always busy. He's always doing something for the business, even if it's not in the day-to-day operations.
Sure. So working with your spouse, did you guys have to navigate any, I'm gonna use the term weird stuff because I don't really know how it's determined. Did you guys have to navigate any stuff like that at the beginning to sort out like anything, or was it just a natural?
I think it's hard when the wife is the one who's like the main breadwinner, especially for someone that grew up in a very conservative home, to get used to that shift, the power shift. I mean,
Right.
that power shift is not the right word, but
Yeah.
it has been weird at times, but I think at this point he realizes that, he has his strengths, I have mine, and we live in a nice, beautiful home because of the business. And even though like he doesn't have a regular paycheck, he understands the big picture. And it doesn't bother him as much as it used to. I think in the very beginning it was kind of hard, like for him to, especially when he left his job, and then we just made the decision for him to stay home. It made sense. It was different. It was, with anything, it takes a while to get used to, the new norm. But now he's very proud, and I have his support. At first, I didn't have his support, but when he started seeing the money in the bank, I think that's when it kind of clicked for him, and he's like, okay, this is not just playing with balloons. This is a real business.
at Balloon Boss Summit, there was a lady I met, which I really don't remember her name, but she had that same story. Like, my husband thought I was just messing around until he looked at my books and then was like, oh, dang. Like,
Mhm.
yeah. So when you say, and again, you can stop me if it's too much, but when you say didn't have support, he just was like hands off, like you do whatever, it doesn't matter to me, or was he just like, I think it's a terrible idea?
No, he never said it was a terrible idea. But I've had business ideas before that have not panned out as well. Like, for example, I had a photography business for a while, like doing portraits. And did I bring enough money home? No, it was just more like, $100 here, $200 there. It wasn't enough my goal was always to find something to quit my job for.
Sure.
Um, so I did that for a while, and it just anything that took time away from the family or took time away from him hanging out with me was always a problem. So when he started seeing that I was working a lot, with the balloon business, he was like not on board. He's like, you're never home, you're not with the kids, all of that, like
Yeah.
you're away a lot, you're busy a lot, you're always on your computer. That was always the complaint. Like, you're always on your computer. Because he didn't really see the big picture at that moment.
No,
Um, but I never took out any loans or anything like that. Everything was, I started with $0 and reinvested as I could. So money was not like his big concern. I think his big concern was my time.
sure. Did that shift when you got out of your house? Like when you work from home, it for me, what I found is weird is I'm always in that work environment because there's either balloons sitting in a corner waiting to go somewhere, or I'm working on my laptop, which means I always have my office with me. Once I moved out, it was easier to separate, like I'm at home, I'm not working.
It did get better and it didn't get better because now before I was working nonstop, but I was home a lot working nonstop. But
Okay.
now I was away from home working nonstop. So that means that what ended up happening was I would be home when the kids got home from school. And then right around like 8 o'clock or so, I would go to the shop and then I would work until, midnight, 1 o'clock,
Okay.
which that was his time, like after the kids
Sure.
go to bed was his time. So then it was always that there was always some tension as far as you're never home, you're not here. I feel like I don't have my wife anymore because you're working so hard. I mean, it was rough. It
For
was,
sure. So, I feel like you'll answer this because I think you did in class. Do you mind sharing how much how much your business pulls in ballpark, like last year or whatever? And the reason I'm asking that is I have another question after that. That's the one I want to.
okay. Well, the last 2 years ago, we hit 1,000,001. Last year we were just under 1 million. This year we're tracking to be about the same, maybe about 5% less.
Okay. And then have you had any business, like, do you have a college diploma in anything business related or anything
Um,
beneficial to your company?
I have 2 bachelor degrees. I have one in corporate communications, and then I have another one in interaction design and art from an art school.
Okay. So as far as the business stuff, it's kind of self-taught, figuring it out as you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. I did take some business classes in my corporate communications degree.
Okay.
But outside of that, I'm just kind of winging it as I go along.
Yeah. And I think that's important for people to hear because you can be successful without ever having taken a class on, you don't have to know everything to get started.
Mhm.
Right? You just have to have an idea that you're willing to put in the time and effort to pursue, right? And figure it out as you go. But listening to other people's stories and finding out like the hazards they've had and learning from others kind of gives you a bit of a jump when you meet those people because you can avoid obstacles that they've run into, right? So,
I think what my schooling did help in the fact of the marketing side of it. I wouldn't, and I also had a degree, well, not a degree, but with corporate communications, ended up going towards the web design track, web and graphic design, and I worked as a web and graphic designer for many years. So when it came time to get myself out there, I was able to put together my own website, put together my own SEO and all of that.
Yeah,
And that does help a lot.
cool. And so the name of your company is Partistry Events. Where did that name come from?
It was actually my husband that came up with Partistry. It was kind of like, we were brainstorming with the name, and we thought of Pinterest, how it was pin interest, and then we're like Partistry, party artistry, artistry, and
Sure.
things of that sort. So that's where it came from. I don't love it. I loved it at first, but when it comes to business names, I think sometimes less is more. More like, Baltimore Balloon Decor would have probably been a better name for like for SEO and
Yeah.
for kind of like hit you over the head with a name type of a thing. Partistry gets misspelled a lot. We get pastry a lot. People just don't know how to pronounce it or
Yeah.
spell it. So I can see how that can be hurtful in some ways.
Yeah. We have a company in the area that I'm at that has that same, like you said, Baltimore balloon decor. Like people literally would search that to search for balloon companies, and they're literally searching your name.
Right.
Like for business wise, a boring name that gets people to find you is better than a really cool name that sounds amazing and nobody's ever going to find you.
I
Because
did buy a few, I did buy a few domains that are more like that do redirect to our website.
oh, interesting. So you own, so I'm assuming SEO wise, that's a really big, important deal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who's done that. So you bought like Baltimore balloon decor. I know that might
I did
actually be
not
a
buy
company,
Baltimore
but I
balloon
mean,
decor because that's not
yeah,
available, but I do have Charm City balloons.
right. So like that kind of thing where, all right, I'm taking notes. So when I look down, I'm not ignoring you or doing anything on my phone. I'm actually taking notes. So
I actually don't remember what they all are. Uh,
5
I'd have to look it up.
buttloads of domains. That's going to be something I'm going to look into because I actually really like that idea. Um, okay, so what is the you what do you mostly do in your business now? Because you have people work for you. What would you call your job if you had to replace yourself?
Well, right now I don't work in the day-to-day at all. Um, I am more the person that if there's any questions about anything, they'll refer to me. If there is a really big job that requires a little bit more finesse, that will come to me. Um, like more high profile or like some of the bigger jobs, I'll make it an effort to be at those installs. And even so, when I go, I'm not usually the one who's like on ladders actually doing the job. It's more like delegating. Um, I do any kind of like business related decisions that comes through me. Marketing decisions come through me. Hiring comes through me. Like that's what I've been focused on. I just hired 3 people. So this week I'm gonna spend some more time at the shop training them. But that's pretty much it. I have somebody who does all of the delegating, all of the logistics. My husband takes care of all the vehicles and all the vehicle needs. I have a salesperson who takes care of all of the sales, and she also takes care of the schedule. I have my person who inflates, who's in charge of inflating everything. She's also taking care of inventory and purchasing. She purchases all of the latex. My salesperson purchases anything that's like foil that's out of the ordinary that we don't have in stock. I have this one girl who's in charge of Balloon Planet. So yeah, I mean, I just oversee things, make sure that everything is in place. And for the most part, my husband and I are the extras, which means that when there's extra help that's needed, I don't have to hire somebody to fly in to help, or I don't have to try to find somebody at the last minute. We just jump in as needed.
Right, right. So do you find your crew, one thing that a lot of business owners find is their crew's never as good as they are. Do you find that is a struggle, or has it been a struggle to just not want to do it yourself because you can do it better? Or what do you feel about that thought
My
process?
feeling about that is that as long as the client is happy, that's all that matters. Do all of the garlands or all of the sculptures look the way that I think that they should look, or have them be exactly how I would make it? No, I think there are times that I can do better. But if the client is happy and the money's in the bank, to me, that's all that matters. I am not a control freak. I am not a micromanager. I am not a power hungry person. I am just fine letting them do their thing. And if they ask, like if I don't want them asking me a gazillion questions along the way, I'm one that says, well, what do you think? You take care of it. You do it. And I only rope me in if you absolutely need my help.
Okay. What do you find is the biggest problem for you working with employees?
Communication tends to be, always an issue. Even though we have a project management system in place and they all are able to talk to each other that way, I still feel like sometimes there's a disconnect. And I think that a big part of it is one specific person in my shop who doesn't communicate well in person, like a face-to-face type person, but she communicates really well via text. So sometimes I feel like there's always a disconnect. But for the most part, they deal with it well. And for the most part, we really don't have a whole lot of big issues. We're a pretty well-oiled machine.
Sure. So, just because I think people might be interested, where do you go to find employees?
Indeed is usually where I'm um the most successful in.
Okay.
Indeed has been really good for me. In fact, I just hired 3 people, and they were 3 of 4 people that came in for interviews. And had I had more time, more payroll available, I probably would have hired that 4th person too, because they were all excellent.
Okay. And what kind of stuff are you looking for?
I am looking for people that have availability, who, when they come in, that they can find my address. I know it's a little bit hard to find. I don't give them too much direction on how to find our address, because part of the job is to find weird addresses sometimes. So are they able to get there on time? Are they able to get there with time to spare? Are they able to find the address without calling me? Are they putting up any limitations? Like I had one kid who scheduled an interview, and then the morning of the interview, he sent a request to change the time. And then I didn't respond, so he sent it again. So I was like, okay, well, maybe something happened. So then I rescheduled it. And then the same thing again, when it came time for the interview, he missed the interview completely. And then he sent me a note saying, oh, I'm so sorry I missed the interview. Can I please, I'm really interested in the job. Can I have another chance? No. I was flexible, and you're not respecting my time. Things like that. Like, you can learn a lot by how that person is going to be just by the interview process and the communication that you have before you even interview them. And then when they come in and you explain to them what the job entails, that it's not just, puppies and ice cream, it's actual real work, how they respond to that. I like to talk about their experience at our old jobs. I tend to hire people who have jobs that are different. For example, the one girl that I just hired, what really caught my attention, other than the fact that she was very nice and polite and found the address and was on time. And she had a good appearance and was very nice. Is that she used to work for a company. Actually, her mom owns the company, and they clean chandeliers. That's what they do. They go into like estates and government buildings, and they clean crystal chandeliers, and they have to clean all the little panels one at a time. So it's tedious, it's detail oriented. You have to be careful. We talked about, what are the procedures for going into an estate, and what can you do and what can't you do? And she's talking about, like, don't touch anything that doesn't belong to us. Even if a picture is crooked on the wall, don't fix it, because God forbid something happens and that picture falls, things of that sort. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking at. Niche type of work, things that are a little bit different. The other gentleman that I hired, he also does, he's an actor for like those scare Halloween places.
Right.
And he works on the sets, and he does the creative work behind it, and he helps come up with the makeup, and he helps come up with the costumes, and he helps come up with, the room setup and all of the props. So people like that, people who are looking for something different, not somebody who's worked a desk job, not somebody who works retail. I mean, some retail is good, but they're used to like a set schedule. They're not used to something that we work for the event, meaning the events dictate what our schedule is, rather than just like a regular, work store hours type of thing.
Sure. So you have enough work where your employees know they're going to get X amount of hours, or what do you talk to them about? Do you have seasonal fluctuations where maybe not everybody really needs to work that much this week? You have that stuff like most people do?
Yeah, we're usually pretty slow come January and July. Right now I hired more people than I need. And one of the reasons why that is that I'm also putting together a new business, which I'm not ready to share yet, but I am putting together a new strategy moving forward, in addition to our luxury brand. So we're building upon that. So if there are no hours and installations and inflations, that we're going to be working on putting that together.
Okay.
So I'm guaranteeing them about 15 to 20 hours a week for the part-timers that just came in. And for the most part, all of the people that have been with me, they are guaranteed at least 20 hours. And my full-time people are salaried. So they get paid the same regardless of how many hours they work.
Okay. Is that something that you started them with, salary, whenever you started bringing on full timers? Did you jump right to that, or?
No, it wasn't just that wasn't just the case then. What was happening was they were going into overtime all the time. And people like stability, and these two women that I have that are full-time, they are ones that I can't live without. I mean, I can, everybody's replaceable, but for the most part, they're an integral part of my business, and I would hate to lose them. So therefore, I try to do the best I can to make sure that they know that their check is guaranteed. It's always going to be the same. And they also get benefits and all that good stuff, so that they can run my business in a way that they know that it's sustainable for them, and then they don't want to leave.
Sure.
For the most part, all my key people have been there for at least 2 years. My full-timers have been with me for over 3.
Right on. What kind of benefits do they get? That's one thing that I find a lot of small businesses struggle with, is finding ways of giving benefits to employees.
Well, all of my full-time people, they get 100% of their health benefits paid for. If they want to have their dependents added, they're responsible for paying for them themselves. But theirs is covered at 100%. And then they do have the option to upgrade to the next plan up, and then they pay the difference. But the basic plan is paid at 100%. They also get dental and vision. I believe I only cover 50% of those. They do get 2 weeks of vacation. And I think that's it for like the actual benefits part. They also get holidays. They do get like the 6 main holidays.
Okay. So with regards to the health and dental and all that, is there a company that you work with specifically for that? Is it just one that you found on your own? Are
Well,
they,
what I do is our payroll system is through gusto.com. And
okay,
Gusto is really nice because they make it really easy to integrate all of that. Oh,
okay,
I'm sorry. And there's also a 401k option. And I do match up to 4%, but they have not taken advantage of it, so I haven't paid into it at all.
right. Okay, so it's a payroll, because I think I use something called Paychecks and they have the same thing.
Yeah.
Where
So
they
you
have
can go and
one-
sign up for benefits, and then they'll send you like all of the health benefits options, and then you can choose what you can afford, and you can say what the percentages that you're willing to do with whether it's full-timers and part-timers or just full-timers. Right now it's just full-timers.
right on.
For the part-timers, the only thing that we do is we do disperse the tips. So
Okay,
we do have on Dubsado, that's the CRM that we use, they do have the option to leave tips. And I would say every 3 months, I do it quarterly. So for every quarter, there's about $2,000 worth of tips in there.
okay,
And I do divide that between the team. And that's, not something that doesn't cost me anything.
right.
That's really great for them, that they really do enjoy getting that extra money.
So you divide that full-timers, part-timers, is it even across the board?
Not even across the board. It really is um, it's at my discretion. And normally what I do, I try to give my full timers about 20% of that. And then, I kind of go break it down by
Right,
full timers, and then like somebody who's been working more hours, and then the part timers, and really who shine the most during that quarter.
yeah.
Like people who have really like put in time and effort and like really were the team members that did the best. I'll bump them up
Yeah.
by a small percentage.
It's a lot to think about. It took me, man, so long to figure out how to give my employees a bonus. And when I finally figured out a way, it's one of those like, I don't know why this took so long. Because what do you base a bonus on? Like, did you screw up X number of times? Now I got to track that, and now it has to be tracked. And so, like for me, what I do is I just put a percentage of all of our income into one account, and every quarter I pay it out. And it is based on, I only do it for my full timers, but I add up everybody's hours. So you have a dollar amount and you have a total amount of hours worked. And then I divide the dollars by the hours, and that gives you X dollar per hour worked. And then I back that into the employee. So if an employee worked 500 hours, usually it's in between 500 and 600 hours in a quarter, and the average is $2 an hour, they're going to get $1,000 bonus. And I don't usually base it off of whether you did amazing or not. It's just you showed up, you put in the time, you did the hours. Because if you didn't do amazing, there's going to be other ways I'm going to make that. If you're problematic, that's going to affect you in other ways.
Right.
So once I figured that out, I'm like, this is so easy. Why did it take me so long to figure this out? Like months of time just kicking around the idea of how to give a bonus out.
Yeah, I need to be more proactive in putting together like an actual formula, because for the most part, it's 100% subjective.
Sure. Yeah, it's
Uh,
your company, your money. So,
It
yeah,
is 100% subjective, and at the end of the year, I do give out
All right, so
bonus.
this again had a balloon class and it started 47 minutes ago.
all right, go ahead.
So it's 100% subjective. And at the end of the year, I look at how much money we made. And then I try to put together like probably about 5 grand that I'll just disperse it amongst the team.
Sure.
If we have more employees, then they get a little bit less. If we have less employees, then they get, a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I've had one of my full-timers come up to me and she's like, hey, do you have any idea how much the bonus is going to be this year? And I'm like, whoa, bonuses are not to be expected. They are a gift, and it's 100% dependent on how much money we make versus last year, how much growth we have, and do not count on it because it may not happen. You know,
Right.
I'm gonna try to do it, but like, don't grow to expect it. I thought that was like, I don't know, that rubbed me the wrong way. I was like,
Yeah.
no. You
And
know,
it depends
so
on how
far-
it's presented. Like my employees know they do expect it because I've told them to. And for me, I want them to understand our company succeeds, it affects you directly. So do a
Right.
good job. Customer service
100%.
is important, all of that. So just depends on the angle and perspective you're delivering that to them. If you're just saying, this is a gift from me to you, that's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
So yeah.
In general though, like I try to take care of my people because I know that if I take care of them, they'll take care of me. And so far it's been good.
Okay. So do you have, because it sounds like you're growing your business in a very specific way. Do you have an end game in mind that you're growing it towards an end result?
Well, I'm making sure that I'm growing my business so that I am not in the weeds every day, because eventually I would like to be able to sell it to somebody.
Okay.
If my children, I don't foresee them. I mean, they're only, 10 and 12, so I don't know enough about what they're gonna do with their life. Just hunches, but I don't foresee them being in the balloon world. So eventually I'd like to sell the business.
Okay.
And you're only able to really sell the business if it's a well-oiled machine that an investor can pretty much just take over.
Yeah. That's what I like to tell people is if you're growing your business and you're doing all the work and it's selling art, every job that you have to create, you need to find someone who can do what you do to sell it to, which is a small number of people. But if you're growing it where all you have to do is manage a handful of people who can do all the work, there's a lot more people you could sell to. Okay. I
100%.
assume that was your answer as far as, being able to be in that position because you're growing yours the same way I'm growing mine. And I can hear that in how you do it. So, okay. Just for the sake of your time, we're going to blaze through. So we used to like to time this and John Fudge would time this for us. And he's not here, so we're not going to worry about a time, but the idea is that these are more rapid fire questions and they're going to be all over the map. And it's 20 questions. And when we're done with this, we'll open it up to the people if they have any questions for you. And then for the sake of time, we will wrap it up. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, like to throw out there before we do this?
No, I think
Okay.
that's covered a lot.
Yeah. All right. And I'm just like, I don't come prepared for these other than just a curious mind wanting to know you and your business a bit better. So, some of these are easy. Some of them are a little deeper. Just because I like to mix it up. All right. Favorite food.
Okay, Brazilian food.
All right. Favorite dessert.
I'm not a sweets person.
Oh, all righty. Favorite movie. It could be movie type. Did you say car?
Cars, Disney cars.
All right. Favorite holiday.
Christmas.
All right. I don't know how to ask this. Favorite texture of balloon, favorite type of balloon, like color palette, whatever.
I like the chrome balloons. I think they're cool.
Okay. Weirdest job you've ever had. And this could be, I'm gonna ask this two ways. Weirdest balloon job you've ever had, one. We'll do that one.
I haven't really had a whole lot of weird jobs. I think the most like out of the box was a dispensary that had me do like all of the cannabis stuff. And having been one that doesn't partake, it was a little odd for me. But other than that, nothing really weird and out of the
Okay.
box.
Weirdest thing you've ever done for money, or weirdest job you've ever had. whichever one of those. I mean, they could be the same answer, but
You know, you could have given me this list ahead of time so I could think.
no, that would be, it would mess up the process.
Uh, weirdest job I've ever done. Wait, what was the last one?
Weirdest thing you've ever done for money. So like jobs before you've owned your company. Like, did you do a weird job or just something unique? Doesn't have to be weird. Weird might not be the right word.
Okay. I photographed a birth once.
Oh, alrighty. I don't think
Back when I was doing my photography business, one of the ideas that I had was to go into birth photography, and I
Yeah.
was able to photograph a birth, and it was absolutely incredible.
Okay, so I feel like that's something you get a lot of first babies. Like
Yeah.
when I had my first, when my son was being born, first child for me, we had a photographer. None of my other kids are getting.
This one was the second one.
Really? All
Yeah,
right.
the second
Awesome.
baby.
Okay, cool. Classic or organic? Preference for you.
I like the way organic looks if it's done right, but I like the money that classic brings.
Okay. If you could meet one person in the world of all time, who would that person be?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know.
Jesus
Of
is,
all time.
yeah. We can come back to any of these if you want.
It would be probably my grandmother on my
Okay.
mom's side.
Was she around when you like you've never met her?
I've never met her, and I
Okay.
hear how wonderful of a woman she was.
I have a grandfather that I never met who like started his own dairy, like delivering milk bottles and all this crazy stuff. And I would be curious to meet him too. It's interesting. Favorite toy you had growing up? What kind of stuff did you play with?
Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't have a lot. I grew up with very little. Um, and one of the things I really enjoyed doing was making clothing out of newspaper.
Okay.
My friends and I, we would do like fashion shows, and I would put together, I wish I had photographs of all of this. It was just in my head, where we would get newspaper because I didn't have fabric, and we would just cut it out and glue it and make outfits. And then we would, do like a fashion show down the hallway in our apartment. I lived in an apartment building, like
Sure.
a high rise. So we used to play in the hallways a lot. And that's what we did. We did like fashion shows, because being creative has always been a thing for me.
Yeah.
So that, and then my rollerblades. I really like my rollerblades too.
Right on. When you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I don't remember.
Okay. Private or corporate preference on
Oh,
jobs?
corporate, 100%.
Favorite color?
Aqua.
All right. Favorite podcast? Do you listen to podcasts?
Yes, favorite podcast was like the whole Serial series was my favorite back then. But now I really enjoy Criminal, and I really enjoy This Is Love as well.
Okay. Type of music? Favorite?
Uh like classic rock, and just rock from like 80s and 90s is good for me.
I don't,
Queen is,
right on. Favorite book? I don't think I asked you book.
I don't read a whole lot.
Okay. An audio book if you listen to books. Okay.
No, it's
All
not
right,
my,
no
my
worries.
thing.
Name a bucket list item that you might have.
I would really love to go to like Antarctica someday. Like actually like go to the ends of the earth.
Right on.
But traveling in general is it's my passion. I really enjoy traveling.
Sure. What would be your spirit animal?
The sloth.
Oh my God, I love
I
it.
enjoy lounging around and doing a whole lot of nothing.
Sure.
But I got to be careful with that because then you can get into
Yeah. All right.
trouble and not
last
get
two are
enough done.
The last two are a little bit deeper. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Um, make better choices as far as career direction. I wasted a lot of my life in a endless job, that dead end job.
Okay, and this is the most important question. If the Sorting Hat was put on your head, what Harry Potter house would you be in?
I've never read Harry Potter.
Really? Oh
I
my,
grew up in a very sheltered, um, very Christian and very sheltered, like religious belief.
sure.
And secular music, and Harry Potter was like a huge nose. So I never read it and honestly have no interest in it.
Right. Makes me that I'm a Christian. It makes me sad when I hear, and everybody believes what they believe. It's everybody's faith is their own to sort out. But when I hear it, that drives me crazy. I'm like, you could talk to your kids about stuff. Like it's in the world. Why are we ignoring it or pretending like it's from the devil or whatever? But that's my personal opinion. Okay.
I don't have those beliefs, but
Right.
that's the way I grew up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for humoring me with some weird questions. Are there any questions from the people online? Let me see if they wrote. Are we sharing this to the group? Shanita, yes, it will be shared. It'll be on our website on her page on our website. It'll be on there. If anybody else has any questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking. Flavia, I appreciate you giving me some time. I know you're very, very busy, just like a lot of us are. And
This week is slowed down some. Last week was crazy.
yeah, for me, it's the opposite. Like things are getting a bit crazy now. So I'm going to be working a whole bunch. So today was like the only day and time I could do it and still was busy this morning. So, I'm amazed at how there's a lot of similarities that you share with me that we can talk about at some other point. Shanita wants to know, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I see myself growing our business more. The area where I'm in the DC metro area. There's a lot of competition, but the majority of the competition is pretty small time. It's people who are either age of starting out or they're working from home and all of that. To the capacity that we're at, there's not a lot of competition. So I think that there's an untapped market that they're still available for tapping. So that's my goal in the next 5 years is to grow my business even more. I also would like to buy a warehouse.
Okay. Is traffic in the DC area a problem? I've been there once, but I never paying attention to what traffic was like.
In Maryland, it's not great, but it's okay. When I'm in Columbia, Maryland, which is right in between both beltways. There's Baltimore, the beltway that goes around Baltimore and the beltway that goes around DC. So there's like a connector, which is 95, and we're smack in the middle. So we can go either direction. It's about the same distance. To go up to any of the events around the Baltimore area, it's easy breezy for the most part. Even if we hit traffic, it's still not it's not terrible. But if we go to DC, it can be a nightmare. So it all depends on which direction we go.
And do you do a lot of work? Like we do tons of work in hotels. For our corporate clients, a lot of it is in hotels in the Orlando area. Do you find yourself working in those places a lot? Is that where a lot of your deliveries go?
Yeah, we used to do a lot of warehouses, but that's shifted some. So now all of our corporate is mostly hotels or their corporate, like their warehouses and just offices in general. We also do a lot of government buildings. So this morning, for example, we were at USDA And then I want to say later today, we're doing like a birthday party for a US congressman, stuff like that.
Sure.
We've done Kamala Harris's house. That was interesting.
Right on. So the loading docks and all that, do you find you're just delivering pre-made decor most of the time?
We are doing mostly installs right now, but
Okay,
I'd like to also tap into the pre-made decor. Um, just drop off and go type of thing. We do some of that, but not as much as I'd like.
right. Okay, any last thoughts, ideas, anything? I am gonna put, because I know that you have a working relationship with the GPS tracking people.
Oh, yes.
So if you want to share the information about what that company is and whatever you want to share about that, I'm happy to put that on here for you. And then I'm gonna go on the driving policy, I think, and add a link for you,
Okay.
people to go to that website and make
Yeah,
sure.
the GPS tab, that's the name of the company. They go by UTech and they're working companies together. What they do is it's a dash camera that is placed in your company vehicles, and you can also have auxiliary cameras so that they have cameras on the sides of the van and all the way in the back as well. It's the same system that they use for FedEx and UPS and Amazon delivery trucks. It's dumbed down a little bit because it does have, it's the same machine, but it doesn't have all of the features, because if it had all the features, it'd be really expensive. But pretty much what it does is it tracks the vehicles, it tracks where, like they call the breadcrumbs for the entire route from where it starts to where it ends, where the car stopped, if it idled for a long time, if anytime there's speeding involved, if somebody's smoking in the car, if somebody's drinking in the car, it will beep, and it will also send you like little snippets of video for those things that are happening inside of your vehicle. It's just a really nice way to keep track of the vehicles, any collisions that happen, erratic driving. Just in general, if you catch an accident, then it's a great way to protect your team as far as being blamed for something that they didn't do, or being able to also fight in court should an accident happen, and be able to back up your people on what happened and what didn't happen, because you can't be everywhere with your team. So if they're going to be driving your cars, it's nice to know what they're doing out there.
Yeah. And just because I know this, because I actually got some that I have to install right now, but I got them from, I went through the company using your name, which is what you need to do. You need to let them know Flavia sent them, and they will know who you're talking about, because there's not a whole lot of Flavias out there. But
That's fine.
if you have three or more devices that you're going to get, then you don't pay for the devices, but you have to have a 2-year contract.
And that's what I have now.
Yes, and it's $30 a month per device to monitor it, and it has a crazy number of features, more than any regular person could possibly want. Like you said, like more than we need for what we're looking for. For Amazon, maybe a different ball game, but we're not. So I find that's a really great price. My wife's like, yeah, we're getting it for our vehicles too, because the kids
Yeah.
tell how you
I put
drive.
it on my car. My car has it too.
So, yep. So that's what we're doing, which is it's crazy good. If you don't want the contract, I think you have to buy the device. It's like $190 for one, I think.
Which is super reasonable.
Which is discounted when you use Flavia's name. It's not if you're just gonna go on your own. So
Right.
I put the I don't know, I'll have to look up the website, but the company name I put in the chat, GPS tab. What we'll do is we will include a link somewhere in our information. I might put it on our resources page,
Mhm.
and then we'll add information on there. So if anybody has any questions, Flavia is a member of the Balloon Guild, so you can always ask the question. She should be able to give you the information.
Yeah, I've had some really tough situations when it comes to my fleet. accidents that have happened. I have had, I was rear-ended once and it totaled the vehicle, and it was a hit and run, and they took off. And unfortunately, the cameras hadn't been installed yet. They had just arrived to my house. They were sitting in my foyer, and they hadn't been installed into the vans yet. And unfortunately, I was not able to get that license plate. So, just things like that. And if you think about it, $30 a month for a camera that will record things that are happening around. I mean, I can't tell you how many times. It's the second time that I've had a hit and run where they've hit my car and took off, and there's nothing you can do about it. The police are not helpful at all. And I've also had a couple of accidents that have happened with one of my delivery people. She's like, yeah, somebody hit me while I was on the road and they took off. And I have no proof of that, none whatsoever. I only had a big dent on the side of my vehicle. And what do you do to your employee?
Yeah.
You can't prove whether it was her fault or not, but if you have video evidence, you can. I've also had people smoking in my vehicles, and I don't know who it was. Had I had the camera in there, because it records the outside and the inside of your vehicle.
Yeah.
And I have also heard from somebody else in our community. I won't disclose who it is, but he hired somebody who sexually assaulted one of his employees in the work van.
That's crazy.
So
For
you know.
that purpose, you can't trust anybody. I don't care. Like a lot of our people work, a lot of the Balloon Guild members work from home. They have people just like a lot of us start, they just bring people, and I did. So I'm not even putting this down, but had people coming into their home working. And in general, if you start getting busy, you spend more time with your employees than you do with your family. And the tendency is to feel like you're friends, to feel like there's like, you want to work with people that you get along with and you like, and you become friends with them, but you can never trust or know anybody. I had somebody stealing cash money from my house. And it took me I actually thought it was one of my kids because I couldn't believe it would be him until I put a hidden camera where the money was. And I made the excuse to leave my house. Within 5 minutes, he was in that drawer stealing money. That was a heartbreaking experience because I lost an employee and somebody I called a friend all at the same time. So the cameras are helpful. If anything, I even think of it as I'm helping you to be a better person because there's accountability. Not that I don't trust you, but this will help. I know they're going to help me not give my kids an excuse to tell my wife, Dad watches Netflix when he drives, whatever, right? So anyways, the cameras are good. They're not very costly. Make sure if you guys do go with the GPS tab that you mention Flavia's name, because one, you get a discount, and then Flavia gets a kickback as well. So
yeah, and then cameras in the shop too are super
yes.
important.
Yeah.
Well, I know you had like a trailer broken into, and you were able to bring up that footage.
There is nothing more satisfying than somebody doing you dirty, but you get it on camera and they get caught. I've had someone throw a brick through my front window of my shop, and my camera caught like a tattoo dude had on his arm, and he got caught doing the same thing somewhere else. But because they could identify him on that tattoo, he had to pay for my stuff too.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah. So I tell my people, I said, the cameras are here for a plethora of reasons, not only for, making sure that things don't get stolen or, but it's also for your protection, because you never know who is in here, right? I mean, we can filter through, we can do background checks, we can, there are people that we work with on a regular basis that we're friendly with, but you just never really know people. So I like the idea that if I'm not at the shop, I can, look on my phone and see what's happening at the shop.
Yeah.
I
All
work
right.
from home a lot, so I think the cameras are indispensable, and I think, having a good online project management system is great for managing from far away.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have much success in your business
Thank
and
you.
thank you for being a guest designer. I still have a couple more of the items you sent to me to put out there. They're just not going to happen over the next few days, but
And if you have any specific requests of things that you want, just send it my way and I can always add to it.
okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you, Flavia. Hope you have a good one.
Thank you.
Ready.